Hello, my dear students. Welcome to our e-class. In this part, we are going to study about economy. The three aspects of economy that we are going to look at are agriculture, urbanization, and commerce. Agriculture you have already done in the previous class. So we are going to have a small recap on agriculture. We all know principal occupation at that time was agriculture. Land was owned by big and small peasants and state, but overall control was in the hand of the state. The state levied two types of taxes. Kharaj. Kharaj was 1/2 to 1/5 of the produce, depending on the conditions of cultivation. And the other tax was Ushr, which was on land held or cultivated by Muslims, and this was 1/10 of the produce. When non-Muslims started converting to Islam to pay lower taxes, the overall income of the state started declining. As a result, the caliphs then decided that they will adopt a uniform policy of taxation. Then there was this Iqta system. According to this, the state gave revenue assignments called Iqtas to some officials, and the revenue from these Iqtas was the salary of these officials. Now, agricultural prosperity went hand in hand with political stability. They all knew. So the rulers started supporting agriculture. State supported irrigation system, started constructing dams and canals, helped in the digging of wells, all of these which were very crucial for good harvests. And even in the Islamic law gave tax concessions to people who brought land under cultivation. So if land will be brought under cultivation, that will give more income to the state. So as cultivable land expanded, productivity also rose. So this much you have already done. We now move on to the next part, and that is urbanization. So as the Islamic civilization flourished, many new cities were founded, and these cities were basically for the soldiers. These soldiers in Arabic were known as jund. So the garrison cities for these soldiers or jund were called Misr. Incidentally, today Egypt is also known as Misr. Probably it may have developed as a garrison city. So yes, these garrison cities were called Misr. And example of those garrison cities that were developed at that time are Kufa and Basra in Iraq. If you look at the map above, you will see where you see Iraq, just below that you can see Kufa, and right below that you can see Basra, and also Fustat and Cairo in Egypt. So Egypt, if you look at the map where Egypt is written, right on top of that you can see Cairo and Fustat. So these were the garrison cities. The Abbasid capital Baghdad was already a developing, bustling city. It already had a population of 1 million. So many old cities got new lease of life. They also started developing, and these old cities were Damascus. Look at the map of Syria. There you can see Damascus, Isfahan in Iran, and Samarkand. If you see the extreme right of the map, you can see Bukhara, and to the right of that is Samarkand. So these were the old cities which were developing. So with the population on the rise, there was demand for food grain. So there was expansion in production of food grain, and also for industries, cotton was grown and sugar. Because of the demand of goods and buying of selling, there was an urban network that was developed to link cities, and it formed a circuit from where people could buy and sell goods. Now look at the layout of the city. The plan of the city. At the heart of the city were two building complexes which were most important. and they showed cultural and economic power. One was the Masjid al Jami. This was the main mosque, which today we also know it as the Jami Masjid or the Jama Masjid. So this was the congregational mosque where large number of people would gather for prayers, and the other was the souk or the market. Now souk is an Arabic term for market. Even today you go to Dubai and you'll find the famous gold souk in Dubai. So this is a term used for market. So in this market they had shops lined up, and in this area they had merchants lodgings called fonduk, the houses of the merchants, and office of the money changer, so that people who came from other countries could exchange the money and buy goods. Now these were the important buildings. So if you look at this picture right there, you can see the most important building you can see from any part of the city. You see it's a building on a higher platform and it's visible from all through, and this is the main mosque or the Masjid al Jami. The city, as you can see circles. There is one inner circle which is the most important part of the city, where you have the mosque and you have the market and you have the merchant lodgings and the office of the money changer, and other administrative officials are there. Now this is called the inner circle. So administrators were called Ayan. Ayan means wide eyes. So they were eyes of the state to look after the administration. Then there were important scholars who lived in this area, and also merchants who bought and sold goods, and they were called tujars. Then after that, in the next circle, that is called the outer circle, there were the ordinary citizens and soldiers, and their living quarters were located in this. And in this they had their own small places of worship, like the mosque for the Muslims, church for Christians, and synagogue for the Jewish people. And along with that they had a subsidiary market. The main souk was in the center, but small little market for their provisions was there. Then there was a public bath called the hammam, and an important meeting place. Then if you move out to the outer circle, which is called the outskirts, now this area had houses of the urban poor, the poor people of the city. Then it had a market for green vegetables and fruits. Now in the market for green vegetables and fruits were located on the outskirts, because easy for these people, the sellers, to go outside, and because this was something which had to be supplied every day, fresh vegetables and fruits, so they could easily go out from here and bring in the fruits and vegetables. Then there were caravan stations. The caravans which were coming loaded with goods from other places, they were also stationed over here. And also there were some shops which are called unclean shops. The goods that they were dealing with were not very clean, like it was tanning leather which was made from skin of dead animals, and butchering where they would sell meat. So the smell and all would not be very pleasant. So yes, they were located in the outer circle. Then if you can see this, there was a wall all around the city and outside the city wall. And the city also has gates. If you see on the four corners, there are gates in different directions. Now these gates for security purpose may be closed at night or whatever time they decide. So when these gates are closed, those people who came from outside, their resting places or inns were there, that they could relax over there till the time the city gates would open. And also outside the gates were cemeteries where graves of dead people were there. They buried their dead in these graves. Then we look at the trade that took place at this time. Now political unification and urbanization led to more and more demand for foodstuff and luxuries, and this led to trade. So the circuit of exchange also enlarged. Now geographically this empire was very well located. If you see the location of this empire, it was well located between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. So from the sea route, it was very easy to get goods from the eastern part and sell it to the Western world. So for 5 centuries, the Arab and Iranian traders, they had the monopoly over trade between China, India and Europe. And eastern part was famous for goods. For centuries, people came this side to buy spices, textile, porcelain, gunpowder. And these were shipped from India and China, and then from here they were taken to the seaports of Aden and Aidab in the Red Sea, and Siraf and Basra, which were the Gulf ports. So here the goods were traded. Then the merchandise, that is the goods, were carried in camel caravans to warehouses. Now the place where these goods were kept were called makhazin. Now makhazin probably is the origin of the word magazine. Like in a magazine you have a number of articles collected together, same way in this warehouse there were a number of goods collected together. So probably that is why the word has developed from makhazin. Now here they took caravans to warehouses of Baghdad, Damascus and Aleppo. Then these caravans passing through Mecca got bigger when the Hajj coincided with the sailing season. Now during the time of Hajj, there were large number of pilgrims who came to this region. So buying and selling of goods happened in large quantity. So the caravans were much bigger at this time. Now towards the Mediterranean end, this export to Europe was handled by the Jewish merchants from the port of Alexandria. You can see Alexandria on the map. Then from 10th century, the Red Sea route gained importance due to rise of Cairo. And now Cairo became an important center of commerce and power, and there was growing demand for eastern goods from the trading cities of Italy. Then towards the eastern end, Iranian merchants from Baghdad traveled along the Silk Route. Now this famous Silk Route, you can see on the map, previous map, they traveled on this route to China via Bukhara and Samarkand. Now Bukhara and Samarkand in the Transoxiana area to bring paper. Now China for many years had kept paper making as a closely guarded secret. So people went there to purchase paper. And along with paper, Chinese porcelain and silk was also famous, Indian silk also. All of this traveled through this Silk Route. Now Transoxiana also formed an important link in the commercial network, which was extending northwards towards Russia and Scandinavian countries. Now these were cold countries, so from there they got European goods like fur. And also if you see from there the Slavic region, from there a number of captives were purchased as slaves, and probably from Slavic the word slave has been derived, and they purchased in these markets for the courts of the caliphs and the sultans. Now market exchange also increased the importance of money, and as buying and selling of goods happened, coins were required. So more and more coins of precious metals, gold, silver, copper, they were minted and circulated. Now these metals were not available at one place, so the gold came from Sudan in Africa, and silver came from the Zarafshan Valley in Central Asia, and from Europe they got other precious metals and coins also. Then the rising demand for money. Now because there was so much demand for money, people had to now put their idle wealth, which was just lying maybe in their storehouses or maybe in their treasuries, where it was just dead wealth which was lying there. So they wanted to bring it into circulation and earn more money out of it. Credit combined with currencies was required to oil the wheels of commerce. So commerce would develop further if this money was put to use. The one of the biggest contribution to economic life was the development of superior method of payment and business organization. This was very much required at that point of time, and some new things were developed like the SAK, which were letters of credit, and probably from SAK the word check has originated. And then there were bills of exchange called Suftaja. They were used by bankers and merchants. Now these commercial papers were very useful because it freed these merchants from the need to carry cash everywhere, because carrying cash in those days or any time has never been very safe. So these commercial papers or the bills of exchange and SAK were making their journeys safer. So that was one very important contribution. Then there was this Muzarba, which was called formal business arrangement. This was common, but in this they had some sleeping partners also who were not actively involved in business but would give their interest, their capital or money to traveling merchants who would take this money and buy goods and sell them, and they would share the profit or loss in the proportion that they have agreed. Now, Islam did not stop people from making money, but interest bearing transactions like riba, they were said to be unlawful because interest is not lawful in Islam. But people could borrow money in one type of coin, and then while paying in another, the commission that